Hello, my name is Mark Irving and I'm here to give you a quick demonstration of ProjectDSM. ProjectDSM is an Australian company established in 2008 and we have two main products. One is ProjectDSM, which is our fully functional analysis system for small and medium-sized enterprises. We also have an educational tool called DSM Matrix, which we provide free for public use. But our main product is ProjectDSM. You can always contact us either via our website www.projectdsm.com or our support email address support@projectdsm.com. The user interface for ProjectDSM has a number of elements. We've tried to make the user interface as friendly as possible with the incorporation of a step-by-step wizard for data entry, a number of explanatory texts which you see on the screen in blue, various guiding wizards to help you through the process, and a number of pop-up guidance boxes which indicate which button to start with. The first step on opening a new project within DSM is data entry. You can see here I've created a new project called Demo 1 and I am adding elements to that project by pressing the Add button. And the name of those elements can be customized within the system so that you can be prompted to add a new task or a new architecture element. You can put those labels and name them however you like. You can see here for this particular activity within a project plan, I've fully given it a description of what's taking place. I've actually said in terms of resources it's going to take one person to perform that task, and I've looked at some of the costs in addition to people's time which will be involved in developing that particular activity. The next step within generating a project for ProjectDSM is to start to think about the interdependencies between my elements. And so what we have within the Task Dependency tab of ProjectDSM is a list of all my activities or elements on the left-hand side and all the prerequisite elements or tasks on the right-hand side. And I can go through that now and I can start to define step by step which elements depend on which other elements. And you can see there that we can define levels of dependence. It's not yes or no, it can be 5 levels of dependence or 3 levels of dependence, and again you can customize those levels within the system. So once I have defined the elements and their dependencies within ProjectDSM, I can actually visualize those dependencies by looking at the dependency map. So now we see the DSM view of the project where we have all the dependencies shown as elements of the off-diagonal parts of the matrix, and at the moment I've got random order of my project plan. So if I now turn on the partition calculation such that I reorder the sequence of activities to maximize the number of elements below the diagonal, you can see I generate a number of blocks of elements which have got elements above the diagonal, which is an iteration block. And this brings us to the next step of the analysis of the project, which is to start to look at those dependencies and see which dependencies I can replace with assumptions and simplify my project plan. So I'll use the advice function of ProjectDSM, which gives me a list of all the simplifications it could do to the project plan and to what extent they will reduce the complexity of the plan. So if I perform this first suggested action, you can see that this particular dependency, available budgets will influence delivery of outcome models. I can now say, well, I will assume a certain outcome for that particular activity. And so after making that one simplification, so I've broken one dependency, you can see I've now simplified this larger block into 3 much smaller blocks. We can also look at the project from other points of view. We can look at the linchpins within the project. These are elements within the project which tend to lead to dependencies of a large fraction of the project. So if you like, those particular elements are ones which have the largest dependency, downstream dependency of following tasks. We can list what assumptions have been made and manage those assumptions strongly. And then I can also just look at all my various tasks and list the task, the name, the description, the amount of effort, the amount of cost, and the duration. And now if I take the last step in our wizard, which will go to the scheduling activities, you can see here I've got my project plan, and now I have a project schedule. So this is the traditional Gantt chart, which looks at which activities depend on which other activities. And the other thing I can see within this particular project plan, you can see I have a number of iteration blocks, and I can now highlight within that project plan where those iteration blocks are taking place on the Gantt chart. And so I can visualize within ProjectDSM both the traditional Gantt view, the DSM matrix view of dependencies, and I can also see where those dependency iteration blocks are appearing in my Gantt chart. So far I've talked about temporal DSMs, in which I have a project plan with activities depending on previous activities. You can also use ProjectDSM to look at architectures where there is no time dependency within the project. And for example, here on the screen at the moment, you can see an architecture which, first of all, because we've defined the names of our elements and the names of our groupings, you can see here, instead of project plan, it says system tree, system map, component dependencies. So now instead of element dependencies, our definition is for components. And instead of partitioning the matrix, I can use a clustering algorithm, which doesn't give me necessarily a project sequence, but it does group together elements within blocks such that the number of dependencies within those blocks is stronger and more than the dependencies outside those blocks and between blocks. I'd just like to thank you for listening to this short demonstration of ProjectDSM. I would welcome if you downloaded our trial product and had a look personally of the system. And if you have any questions or feedback, feel free to contact us on support@projectdsm.com.